Who but we will punish the bad guys? Well, we have lots of prosecutors in America, district attorneys, state's attorneys, attorney general, and above all, we've got the free market. Nothing punishes bad actors like competition and openness. If you hurt your customers, word gets out. If you don't treat them really well, you go out of business. That protects the consumer far better than these lawyers ever will. And who but we will compensate the victims? Well, there are lots of ways to compensate victims. None is perfect, but they're all better than the trial lawyers. You have Social Security disability payments, workers' comp, Medicaid for poor people, private charity, that's the best. But what kind of compensation system is it that these lawyers run, where it takes 10, 15 years for the victim to get his money? And many of the people who collect are not the right people. A Harvard study of medical malpractice found most people who collected were not victims of malpractice. And most people who were didn't collect anything. It's a horribly clumsy instrument. And worst, what kind of compensation system is it where most of the money goes to the lawyers? Now you may say, what's he mean most of the money goes to the lawyers? Trial lawyers only take 30 or 40%. But add in the defense lawyer costs and the court costs, and up to 70% of the money is going to the process. This is a horrible way to compensate people. And because of this, you hear about the tort tax, and we all pay more for things. And that's true, but again, I argue that's not the biggest loss. The bigger loss is the good stuff we don't get to have because we're scared. Because teachers are afraid to hug a child because there may be a lawsuit. Because innovators are afraid to bring a new medical device to the market because there might be a lawsuit. Because the lawyers attack the people, not evenly, they attack the people we need most. The people who stand on the edge of life and death, the drug makers, the medical device makers, hospitals, paramedics. That's why while a car costs a few $100s more to pay for the lawyers, a heart pacemaker costs several $1,000s more to pay for these suits. So we get less medical innovation. I mean, the most important thing to keep people alive is vaccines. Nothing has saved as many lives. So I want a lot of companies researching vaccines in an era of bioweapons, SARS, anthrax, bird flu, mad cow disease. Who knows what the next scare will be. So I'm glad we have 5 companies researching vaccines in America. Trouble is, we used to have 20. And when we had 20, then the lawyers sued saying the DPT vaccine could have been safer. Should have had this ingredient or shouldn't have had that ingredient. I don't know what the truth is. Maybe it was junk science. But let's say they were right and they saved a dozen lives. Is it worth it? No way. Because they've killed many more people by scaring people out of the vaccine business. Many of the companies just said, look, we don't make that much off our vaccines. It's too big a liability risk to continue in this line of business. Let's stick to our pimple cream business or our shampoo business. So we're less safe, and the lawyers are richer. They also interfere with the information flow that in daily life helps us protect ourselves, keep us safe. For example, some of you run businesses. When you fire Fred because he's lazy or reckless, and someone calls to ask, another company calls and asks about Fred, do you say, yeah, we fired him because he was lazy and reckless? No, because your human resources department says, you can't afford that. You'd get a labor lawsuit. You just say, we agreed to part company. You can't even say he was a great worker if he was, because then you might be sued if he does something wrong on the new business. So you don't talk. When Delta fires a pilot because he's a drunk, they don't tell America. This makes us less safe, not more safe. They interfere with the daily information flow that keeps us safe and alive. We ought to read warning labels. That's obvious. And yet, do you read them anymore? I don't, because they're all over the place. The cringing companies are smearing them on everything. There are 41 warnings on stepladders right now. You ought to read the drug labels, the insert on the antibiotic tetracycline that says don't take it with milk. Won't work if you do. But who reads drug inserts because they're so long? Have you ever looked at a birth control pill insert? I happen to have one here. Tiny fine print, both sides. So this doesn't make us safe anymore. This covers what the lawyers want, but even the doctor doesn't read it. And if you read it, you wouldn't need the pill anymore. Look at presidential candidate John Edwards and how he made his money. He made 40 to 80 mil, he won't say how much, on these kinds of suits. Most were medical malpractice cases. Most of those were cerebral palsy cases. He said that the baby got cerebral palsy because the doctor wouldn't do a C-section and the baby was starved for oxygen. And it was a theory. He was really good at it. In court, he would do things like channel the baby. I hear her now. She's talking to me. She's saying, "Let me out. I can't breathe, Doc. Let me out." And he wouldn't do a cesarean section. And a jury awarded $4 million. And this happened again and again. And so what's the result? Well, there are more cesarean sections now. One reason is that it's an easier operation. The technology's improved. But a big reason is doctors are covering their rear. They don't want to be sued. C-sections have gone from 6% of all births to 29% of all births today. Now, it's a much more dangerous operation, 4 times as likely to kill the woman. Bigger scar, more expense, more pain, longer hospital stay. Did it at least reduce the incidence of cerebral palsy? Oops, not a bit, no change. Guess Edwards was wrong about his theory. Is he giving the money back? No. Is he apologizing? No. Does the press even ask him about this? No. The lawyers just take our money and our freedom. Now, we need some of these lawsuits the way we need nuclear missiles to keep us safe. But we try not to use our nuclear missiles because we understand that they kill innocent people. These lawsuits run over innocent people, and we should try not to use them as well. The way to do that is with something called loser pays. America's the only country where I can sue you, bad reasons, but wreck your life anyway. And when I lose, I don't even have to say I'm sorry. I can just go walk away and sue somebody else. America's lawyers are so clever, they even game the language by calling that the English rule, like it's this weird British thing. But it's the rest of the world rule, loser pays. We have the weird American rule. When I talk to more normal audiences, sometimes they say, well, maybe we could protect ourselves by reading up in a free society, but, what about the poor and the ignorant? You got to have rules to protect them. But here, too, the free market protects us better than government ever can. As an example, look at cars. Compare the worst car you can buy in Lake Forest with the best cars that government could produce. And what was that? That was the Trabant. Remember it? That was the pride of East Germany. It was such a bad car, you had to shake it. You had to put the oil and gas in separately and shake it to mix them. And it was the pride of the Eastern Bloc. And yet, what happened to it? As soon as the Berlin Wall went down, it disappeared. Now, why? Those were East German engineers. You'd think they'd be pretty good. Yet, why couldn't their best compete with what's mediocre in America? Because not everybody has to be an expert for the free market to work. You just need a few people, a few car buffs, a few people to read the car magazines. And through word of mouth, the good companies grow, the bad ones atrophy. Freedom will protect the ignorant too. This is capitalism. It performs miracles all the time, miracles we don't even think about. And that's a problem. Because we take them for granted, we may lose them. I mean, we take it for granted that I can go to a foreign country, stick a piece of plastic in the wall, and cash will come out. And you can give that same piece of plastic to a total stranger who doesn't even speak English, and he'll rent you a car for a week. And when you get home, Visa or MasterCard will have the accounting correct to the penny. You don't even think about it. Yet the government can't even count the votes accurately. And yet, when there's a problem, what's people's reaction? We need the government to step in and fix it.